Blood is about to flow in Nkoma Kingdom. In the land of Nkoma, nights were quiet except for the sound of crickets and the slow heartbeat of drums far away. Princess Lira often sat by her window to watch the moon rest on the river. The river was not just water, it was a wound between two great clans, Nkoma and Eshara. For many years, they had hated each other. No one could even say how the fight started, it was just known that blood had been spilled, and the river carried stories of revenge. One night, Lira heard something new. It was a flute. The sound came from across the river, from Eshara land. The tune was soft and sad, like a man crying into the wind. It made her heart beat faster, not from fear, but from wonder. No one from Eshara should come near the river, it was forbidden. Yet the flute kept playing, and Lira couldn't stop listening. The next night, the flute came again. And the next. Every sound from that flute felt like a secret calling her name. Lira began to sit by the river longer each night. She didn't know who was playing, but she felt the music was meant for her. She didn't understand why it touched her heart so deeply, only that something inside her had awakened. When she asked the palace guards if they heard the flute, they said no. They warned her not to go near the river again. The Eshara are wolves, they said. Their songs are traps. But Lira did not listen. Deep inside, she felt the river calling her, and she decided that if love had a sound, it would sound like that flute. The next night, the moon came out big and bright like a calabash of milk. The wind moved through the trees like soft whispers. Princess Lira wrapped herself in a dark shawl and walked quietly out of the palace gates. Her heart beat fast, but her feet would not stop. She followed the sound of the flute until she reached the riverbank. Across the water, she saw a shadow, a man standing tall, holding a flute made of smooth bamboo. The moonlight touched his face just enough for her to see his calm eyes. He did not look like a warrior. He looked gentle, like someone who understood silence. When he noticed her, he stopped playing. For a moment, they both just stared, two strangers from enemy lands, meeting where no peace had ever lived. The man bowed slightly and said, "I did not mean to disturb your night, Princess of Nkoma." His voice was deep, and his words surprised her. How did he know who she was? "You know me?" she asked softly. "I know the songs of your people," he said. "And I know that the river does not stop music." His name was Kanu, a man from Eshara. He was not a prince or a soldier. He was a flute maker and a farmer who came to the river to play each night for the spirits of his dead parents, who had died in one of the old wars. Lira listened to his story, and her eyes filled with tears. For the first time, she saw that the people her clan called enemies were just like them, people who loved, lost, and dreamed. The two talked until the stars began to fade. Before leaving, Kanu said, "If you ever wish to hear peace, come when the moon is full. I will play again." Lira nodded. As she walked back toward the palace, her heart felt heavy and alive at the same time. She knew what she was doing was forbidden, but she also knew she would come again. Because sometimes, the heart hears something the laws of men cannot silence. From that night on, Princess Lira lived for the moon. When the moon was full, she would sneak out of the palace quietly, her shawl wrapped tight, her feet silent on the soft sand. Each time she reached the river, the flute would already be singing, waiting for her. Kanu was always there. Sometimes he played joyful tunes that danced across the water like children's laughter. Other times, he played songs so sad that even the night birds stopped to listen. And when he stopped playing, they talked about their lands, their dreams, their pain. Lira told him how she felt trapped inside the palace, where her father, King Zari, ruled with pride and iron. She told him she wished she could walk freely like the village women, who fetched water and sang together by the stream. Kanu smiled and said, "A bird in a golden cage still dreams of the sky." Those words stayed in her heart. Night after night, they met. The river that once divided them now became their secret bridge. Sometimes Lira brought him small gifts, a fruit, a piece of cloth, or a calabash of honey. And Kanu, in return, carved little flutes and gave them to her. Each flute had her name softly carved on its side. But secrets never sleep for long. One night, one of the palace guards saw a shadow moving by the river and followed it. He didn't see Kanu, but he saw the princess standing too close to the water, whispering to someone unseen. He reported everything to the king. The next morning, King Zori's voice thundered through the palace. "Find out what draws my daughter to the river," he roared. "If it is a man, bring me his head." Lira's heart froze when she heard the order. The river that once felt like magic now felt like danger. But when night came again, and the flute began to play softly in the distance, she couldn't resist. She whispered to herself, "Just once more, only once more." And she went. That night, the moon was shy. Thin clouds drifted across it like whispers hiding secrets. Princess Lira walked carefully through the dark path that led to the river, her heart beating fast. Every shadow looked like a soldier's spear, every rustle sounded like footsteps following her. Still, she went on. Love had made her brave, or maybe foolish. Kanu was already there, waiting by the water with his flute in hand. When he saw her, he smiled the kind of smile that could calm a storm. "You came," he said softly. "I thought fear would keep you away." Lira smiled sadly. "Fear cannot stop my heart," she whispered. But neither of them knew that someone else was hiding behind the thick bushes, Okiri, one of the king's most trusted spies. He had followed the princess silently, like a snake in tall grass. From where he crouched, he saw everything, the way Kanu held Lira's hands, the way she looked at him with love. He didn't wait to see more. He turned and ran back to the palace. By dawn, the whole palace was awake. The king's anger shook the walls. "A man from Eshara," he shouted. "From the clan that spilled our blood." His eyes burned like fire. "She brings shame upon my crown." He ordered his warriors to prepare horses and go to the river at nightfall. "Bring me that man alive," he commanded, "so he will know what happens to those who touch a daughter of Nkoma." Lira had no idea what was coming. That evening, she dressed in her finest white cloth and braided her hair with cowries. She wanted Kanu to see her not as a princess, but as a woman in love. At the same time, the warriors crept through the forest, their spears glinting in the moonlight. The night was calm, the river still, until the soft notes of a flute rose once more. The sound guided the warriors like a path through darkness. And soon, death began to walk toward the lovers. The moonlight spread across the river like silver cloth, and Princess Lira sat beside Kanu, her feet touching the cool water. He played the flute softly, a song made only for her. Its sound floated through the air like a promise. "You play like the wind speaks to your heart," she whispered. Kanu smiled. "Maybe it does. Because when I play, I hear you inside the song." She laughed, but there were tears in her eyes, tears she couldn't explain. Somewhere deep inside her, she felt danger breathing close. Then, suddenly, a twig snapped behind them. Kanu froze. He turned sharply, scanning the shadows. Nothing moved, but the air had changed. The night felt heavy now, like it was holding its breath. "Go," he said quickly, his voice low. "Something is wrong." Before she could speak, the bushes exploded with movement. Warriors rushed out, their faces painted red, their spears gleaming. Lira screamed. Kanu leaped to his feet and grabbed the fallen branch, swinging it with all his strength. He struck one warrior down, then another. The riverbank became a storm of shouts, splashing water, and flying dust. "Take the princess," one of the men shouted. The king said, "Leave the man to die." Kanu fought like a cornered lion. But there were too many. Spears cut through his skin, and blood mixed with the river water. Lira tried to reach him, but two warriors grabbed her arms. "Let him go," she cried, struggling. Please. Don't kill him. But they didn't listen. One spear flew through the air, straight into Kanu's side. He fell into the river with a sound that broke her heart. The water swallowed him, leaving only red ripples behind. Lira's scream echoed across the night, wild and endless. The warriors dragged her back to the palace as she cried out his name again and again. But beneath the river's dark surface, Kanu's body drifted away, not dead yet, but fading fast. The river carried Kanu away under the moonlight, its current whispering like a mother's lullaby. His body drifted between reeds and stones until it reached the still part of the water, a place the villagers called the Spirit's Mirror. There, the water glowed faintly blue, and silence filled the air. Kanu's breath grew weak. He felt the world slipping away, Lira's face fading in his mind. Then, through the darkness, he heard something strange, the soft hum of women's voices. From the glowing water rose 3 river maidens, tall, graceful, with eyes like moonfire and skin that shimmered like fish scales. They surrounded him, their voices weaving through the air. Your love has called to us, one said. Your blood has touched our river. Another leaned close. You are not meant to die tonight, footman. The river has seen your heart, and the heart of the princess who weeps for you. Kanu tried to speak, but his lips trembled. She is in danger. The first maiden touched his wound, and light spilled from her hand. The pain faded. The water around him began to glow brighter, swirling with strange symbols that danced like stars. At dawn, far from where he fell, a fisherman found him lying by the riverbank, alive, but pale as ash. In his hand, he still held his flute. When he woke, the world felt different. He could hear the river's song, feel the whispers of unseen spirits in the wind. Back in Nkoma, Princess Lira lay in her room, her eyes swollen from crying. She believed he was gone forever. But that night, as she stared at the moon, a sound reached her window, soft, distant, and familiar. The flute was playing again. The night after Kanu's fall was heavy with sorrow. In the palace, Princess Lira refused to eat or sleep. Her cries echoed through the corridors like a curse. The king forbade anyone to speak of the river incident, but whispers still spread among the servants, whispers of a love that defied the throne.